divorce is not on the table, but separation maybe. So I found it very strategically PR marketingly worded. We are not going through a divorce. That's not to say, we haven't had a rough year of our marriage, but, please don't, what did she say, salacious rumors, don't use those to fit the narrative. Like, I found it very interesting because they didn't touch on the word separation, which was what was published.
Welcome to Cocktails and Gossip, the podcast where we drink cocktails, but you better believe we're going to spill the tea. We chat reality TV, celebrity blinds, and the hottest tea from BravoandCocktails.com. And as always, it's all alleged and just for fun. We do not verify our blinds. I'm B.
And I'm Amanda. Let's get into this week's tea.
What's up, cocktailers?
Hey, cocktailers. I am so excited to tell you that we have our friend Ali from Bravo Afterthoughts here with us today. So, Ali, I'm super excited. Hi. We're excited to have you. I am especially excited to hear about some shenanigans because B has told me there's been some great stories about BravoCon. There was a pretty late night, apparently, after Sonja's show. So, cocktailers, I think we need to hear a couple of stories, but make sure that you are following at Bravo Afterthoughts on Instagram. And if you're not, go follow them now.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, we've
course.
had some good times, B and I, after, we went to Sonja's show, Sonja in the City, and that ended up being a really, really fun night. And we also got together at BravoCon. And I also just wanted to congratulate you guys for being Screen Rant's #1 podcast for reality television. That's so exciting.
Oh my God, thank you. I had no idea. Screen Rant didn't message me. All of a sudden, a follower was like, B, did you see this? And apparently they picked us as #1. We were on the list. We were on the list with a lot of other really great podcasts, like our friend Kate Casey, of course, Andy Cohen, Watch What Crappens, and a bunch of others. So, yes, we were very honored.
Yeah,
That's
very
amazing.
flattered and honestly humbled, given all of the other people who were on that list. And then,
Yes.
Yeah. So
I was confused. I was like, wait, is this somebody else's pod that the name is similar to mine?
No, you guys deserve it. I love this podcast.
Well, Ali, I'm so happy you're here. I don't know why you haven't been here sooner.
I know, right? Finally.
I'm telling you, but I bring you up, and I'm sure because I know you listen sometimes. I bring you up all the time because I'm like, you don't understand. Our little crew because you guys know there's a bunch of accounts and, there's little crews. Our little crew, in my humble opinion, is the best crew.
100%.
And it's like you have me, who's like the 40-year-old mom. Then you have crazy ass Larry, who's the king of the gays.
We love him.
And then there's a bunch of us, but then you have Ali, who's the baby. And when I say baby, when we all started doing this, Ali, had you just graduated or were you a senior in college?
Yeah, I started this account because I graduated during COVID in 2020. So this was kind of like an activity when my senior year was canceled. So yeah, it must have been then, into my summer of post-grad.
So Ali and I went to Sonja Morgan's show. And I'm like, yeah, I'm meeting up with whoever. And me and my sister-in-law went. So my husband calls me and he's like, I don't know, Ali. It was 2 a.m. Who knows what time it was? He's like, everything all right? You guys coming home? I'm like, yeah, we're just with Ali. And he's like, isn't Ali the one in college? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh my God.
That was so, so much fun. If anyone gets the opportunity to experience Sonja's show, like in real life, I know she does. I think she was just in Boston recently. I don't exactly know her tour schedule, but it was so, so fun. Like, it was the epitome of Sonja. Like, you couldn't write that. You couldn't make that up. It was just whatever you would think Sonja in a performance was. And we had the best time. We were like so entertained the whole time.
But Amanda, you have to know something.
What?
Ali has a picture with almost every single Bravo Leb that has been on Watch What Happens Live or First of all, she constantly gets tickets to Watch What Happens Live. She lives in the city. So she's so sweet and so friendly that I think, unlike me, who they're like, fuck that bitch. And at BravoCon, she waited on what was your longest line, Allie? And who was it
I don't
for?
even Kyle or Kathy. Actually, Kathy, I was kind of able to like, I was with a group of friends and like I kind of slid into that line. But Kyle, I remember I was with you guys. We were all getting food, and I'm like, gotta go, going to wait like 3 hours on the Kyle line to get a picture. But
and then we got snuck into SVIP, and you were like, "What the hell?" And I was like,
I'm like, where'd you guys go?
And we could like once you're snuck in, you have to stay there because
you gotta.
We
That's
came
so
out and
worth
met
it.
you after. But
Yeah. No, it's so worth it. I mean, I didn't get into SVIP, but from what everyone said, that seemed like a great hangout where like the Bravo Lebs are in and out. It's a little bit less like, because when they get on the floor, everyone kind of like, pounces to like try to get in picture, try to like see around them, So that was like a little bit more intimate at least.
What was your favorite part about going to BravoCon?
This was my first BravoCon, and I absolutely loved it. I did all 3 days. I know B only did one, but for me, when I left, I was like, oh my God, now I have to like get into real life mode. But, it was also fun because I went to the hotel, the Gansevoort, where they're staying after. So that was fun. Like a lot of them, came up and like we got a really good spot behind the barricades where like, they'd come up and take pictures. That was a lot of fun. BravoCon itself, like, I loved just the camaraderie of all the Bravo fans, just like being in the Bravo Bazaar where all the merch was being sold, etc. Like I didn't even buy anything, but it was kind of just like, because the photo op lines were so long that when you could like catch them at like a different moment was so much fun, and just like viewing these people in real life, I love. I go to a lot of these like these like events that happen, and like I love to just people watch. Like I just
she's
love,
basically friends with Kyle and Amanda.
They know me at this point. Honestly, the last time I saw them, I think was at Avery Singer's Batch Boss launch party.
Oh my God, I spoke about you going to that on the pod.
Looks like it was a great party.
Honestly, I had a great time. I mean, I went by myself, which happens a lot. Like, half the time I'd say I have a +1 with me, but this one I went by myself, and you know what? I just lurked by the bar. That's like my specialty, pretend I'm getting a drink for that long, and you kind of see who bops in and out of the bar. But I was actually thanking the Loverboy team because they had just sent me like a sweatshirt and a box of Loverboy for the new season, and they're like, oh, we got to get you talking at Kyle and Amanda. And I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't know if they remembered me. So I said to Amanda, nice to meet you. And she was like, wait, nice to meet you? Like, we've met before, haven't we? Nice to see you. And I was like, oh, yeah,
Aww.
we have. They know me. No, they're honestly a lot of fun to talk to in real life. So
they both seem like good people.
Yeah.
Very like down to earth.
Yeah. Especially in those kind of like, appearance like settings like that. I'd say the Summer House cast is really like cool and chill and like good to talk to, enjoyable.
I love it. Okay. So we talked about Kyle for a second. And
let's talk about the other Kyle. I mean,
that's what I meant. Like, so wait, was it Kyle Richards?
No, Kyle Cook.
Kyle Cook. Sorry.
So
Kyle Richards
line you were in for 3 hours at BravoCon?
Say that. Oh no, Kyle Richards. I did wait on the line for 3 hours.
Okay.
Kyle Cook and Amanda was who I recently saw.
And because I feel like Kyle Richards, like Umansky, like I feel like she's probably one of, if not the most popular housewives.
Definitely, people just grew up with her like over the years. Like they were in different phases of life with her.
Right. And
100%.
like, so I think that's why like there's just been so much chatter, and like I think everyone's really taking this separation thing hard because everyone would always look to be like, well, but Kyle and Mauricio, they've been able to avoid the Bravo curse.
You know what I was just thinking as you were saying that? We know that there were the tabloid rumors about Mauricio, and we know there were like internet rumors about Mauricio cheating over the years, but we never saw, how with most housewives, Emily from OC, I mean, just any housewife really, whether they stay together or they split, or we have seen marriage highs and marriage lows in most of our housewives. And I feel like with Kyle, it's very unique that we haven't. And I know there was always a rumor that she had it in her contract that people couldn't really get into it with her. I have no idea if that's true, that people really weren't allowed to address her marriage in that way. But all we're hearing now is that these rumors do surface this season. So is that something that was in her contract that she kind of was willing to forego because it was so in your face? Or was that just not in her contract and were they able to shield us? But do you know what I'm saying? I can't think of, well, actually, most of the Beverly Hills housewives, if you think about it, we haven't seen PK and Dorit have any troubles. Never Lisa and Larry. I mean, I'm talking about in their own storyline, not other people speculating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I honestly, I think that's why it was such a shock, because they seemed like the most stable, well-rounded couple, kind of, you see in their spinoff Buying Beverly Hills, Maurizio being such a great dad to the daughters and even to Farrah, who's, his stepdaughter. And I feel like we saw very much into their family dynamic as opposed to like even deep dives on like any of the other family members. So I just feel like that's why this maybe came as such a shock, myself included. We've seen the rumors recently, right? But I didn't even repost any of them because I just simply thought it was a reach.
Yeah.
And we said last week on the pilot, we talked about the rumors that were going around. And I said, it does, to me, it did feel like maybe they were going through it, which is not the same as separating, right? I just thought like the posting was a little off. I definitely thought something was off, but I was surprised by, I was hearing things, but they were mostly emails, number one, which anyone who listens knows that emails can come in from anybody, whereas if a source is telling you, it's different.
Right.
So my two sources that I rely on mostly, one was like, it's total BS. He filmed a lot this season, which we know to be true. He did film a lot this season. You could tell Allie's in Manhattan, guys. You hear the ambulances?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was gonna preface that.
So we definitely saw something was up. To me, it wasn't, I don't know, the whole Morgan thing, and still to now with so many different things that have come in. I mean, what happened this week after we recorded was that a source, not my main source, but somebody who sent me true things before told me that for a very long time, they've heard from people who work for his company that he's constantly with other women. People can't figure out how the daughters work there and never hear the stories unless they kind of know that this is the parents' deal. And the person said, it's all hearsay, but apparently he has people sign NDAs. A couple of women have left the company.
Wow.
And what it made me remember, guys, do you remember at the reunion and also during the season when Rinna keeps saying, Kyle, Kathy said terrible things about you. And at the reunion, Kyle to me looked more scared than angry. And Kyle was like, I don't care. I don't want to hear it. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to think after they announced this that what if those things were more about exposing her marriage? Like it had to be more than her being like, Kyle's a bad sister.
Right.
Could be. Yeah, for sure.
Could it have been them being open or swinging or even just Mauricio cheating? Doesn't that seem very suspicious now?
I also do think it seems suspicious. I mean, obviously, Maurizio had his issues with the Hiltons over, real estate companies, etc. But like, it did poke a little flag in my brain. Like, that could also maybe be some of the reason why Kathy like isn't wild about Mauricio or hasn't been in the past. Maybe just like knowing things. I don't know.
Right. And the original reason he left the company was because they didn't want to promote him, if we remember, which also coincides the same because him and Kyle talk about him starting the agency. I believe the same season that Lisa Vanderpump had those tabloids, remember?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it all does seem like maybe Kathy was like, screw him. Don't promote him. Who knows if him and my sister are even going to stay together, what he's been up to.
Right.
Or maybe their weird arrangement. Because I do think, and of course, Rick Hilton, who we know he's kind of stunad, he posted he posts a picture, and I'm not blaming his age because you know what? You could be 70 something and not be like out of touch, but
Right.
I guess when you're very wealthy and old, it's different. He posts a picture of him and Kathy. This is like legit hours before or after, excuse me, Kyle and Mauricio's announcement was made, and he posts a picture and writes the love of my life. Like,
Yeah, I
read the
think that
room.
was more strategic than we think. It's exactly like Kath,
Totally.
yeah, I could
Yeah.
see it having, kind of playing it off like, oh, who is hunky dory, but like, that had maybe a little dig in it.
I agree. I think Kathy and Rick are actually pretty perfect for each other based on what I've seen. Like I think there was actually some smarts and some strategy behind that as well because people know, right? Like once there gets to be like some stink on something, it can spread pretty easily. So I'm sure they were like, we got to get ahead of this. As much as they probably knew it was probably going to piss Kyle and Mauricio off to do it, I think they were probably like, we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know much about Rick other than, the Hilton, empire and whatnot, but I mean, we do know Kathy, right? We've got a glimpse into their life, and it sort of just seems like, I'm pegging them to be, a very similar person, like you just said.
And so, as people are speculating about her and Morgan, is she her friend? Is she more than a friend? Is she her sponsor in sobriety? We get a message. I get a DM that says they were at a concert and someone they know knows Morgan's mom. So Morgan's mom doesn't confirm that Morgan and Kyle are together to this woman, but she does say that Kyle and Mauricio are not together. And this came again days before
Right.
they announced this. And I just think that too much was coming out. What I heard was they wanted to hold off until after Farrah's wedding
Right.
with the announcement.
Which makes sense. I get it. And like, I mean, Kyle is like, her daughters are everything to her. And she wouldn't want that kind of attention being given to Farrah's, like the wrong kind of attention being given to Farrah's wedding, which I would understand. And, you posted it, B, but I've known this forever, just being in marketing. A Friday or the day of a holiday weekend is exactly when you post separation news like they did, because that's, like you want to try to bury it as much as you can when people are off doing family stuff and not on media.
But the reality is with social media now, it's not like people are sitting in their living rooms watching Entertainment Tonight. Like Allie probably doesn't even know what that is. Like you and I did as kids,
do.
Amanda. But like Allie, that's how we used to get our news.
Your
Like we'd
news,
have to
yeah.
sit down at 7:00 and be like, "Ooh, what's happening in Hollywood?"
Right,
So, they weren't filming Entertainment Tonight on Fridays, so you didn't get it until whatever. And hopefully something else happens that makes it a little stale. But with social media, it's different.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Do you think they're truly going down like the separation route? Do you think they're just hitting a rough patch and they just felt like they finally had to address it somehow? What do you guys think?
I feel like we need to see the season play out a little bit before I can officially say my response, but I do think there's probably some working towards fixing whatever's going on. I mean, but I also don't know if fixing could mean some sort of arrangement. I mean, it seems like they're still living together. Like maybe that could be, they're not married, but they stay living together for the family. I mean, she's got to be in what, middle school, early high school?
I think she just turned 16, right?
Oh, so she's in high school. Okay, so that's older than I thought. So I mean, maybe it's like something until she goes off to college. Like I don't know. I mean, Alexia still lives with them. Last we heard. So I don't know. I guess we'll sort of see how it plays out. I don't see it being like totally kiboshed. I feel like I see them being together in some capacity, whether that's romantically. Like I don't see it being like Lisa Hochstein and Lenny, where they like absolutely like cannot
Hate each other,
communicate,
yeah.
type thing,
I agree. I think that, sorry, Amanda.
No, go ahead.
There's definitely a partnership there that will like transcend their romantic marriage if that should end. I have it could go so many different ways. There's one version that I say, okay, if it's true that Mauricio is cheating, he got a little bold, or perhaps he was giving one in particular woman attention and Kyle was like, screw this. And whether she's with Morgan or not, she got all this media attention from it. It became this whole thing. And now he's like, oh, whoa, 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 slow down. We're not splitting up, like trying to win her back. So there's a world where I think that could be the case. There's another world where I think that they've had an open arrangement and I don't know how they've kept it quiet. Maybe it was part of her Beverly Hills contract. Maybe they pay off certain outlets not to report it. They are very wealthy. He's able to be discreet and she's okay with it. And maybe she does her own thing and maybe her own thing is with women or maybe it's with men. We don't know. I think there's so many. Oh, this is what I wanted to pose to you guys. What I heard in my DMs the most of all the things is, listen, a lot of people who aren't public figures separate and never actually divorce.
Right.
They usually have their own homes. They often even remain like a family unit for holidays and even sometimes trips. Something we've certainly seen on like with Ashley Darby, who's another person we have to get into that later. And sometimes they have a boyfriend and girlfriend that aren't in the picture when they're a family unit, or they are in the picture and they just never legally divorce. And sometimes it's not even known. Like their kids don't even tell their friends. It's sort of just a modern, like think about Jackie Goldschleider on New Jersey. Her parents are not divorced, probably for financial reasons, but they haven't lived together in years.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my mind goes here. And I think one of the, like, I guess kind of going back to my original question, like, I think the answer is everyone is rooting for them to get back together or stay together. I think that is like, there's nobody who's like, oh, other than like some of the thirsty people we saw in some of the comments, they were like, oh, now Mauricio's free. I think we're all rooting for it. I think, now that like there's some hindsight, I think staying married was part of both of their images of like the good guy and the really fun party guy who loves his wife. I think, and one of the things that I always thought was great about their marriage is they both have so much of their own stuff going on. Like Kyle, yes, she raised the kids, but she has really had a renaissance in her career and, has been a producer and doing her own shows and doing Housewives and doing all this other stuff, which I've always thought was so great. Because I think in a lot of marriages, when one person stays home and then the kids get older, that person finds themselves kind of flailing a little bit. And I've seen marriages fail because of that. But in their case, like she was really able, and like they both supported each other's business endeavors, which I always thought was so great. But that's the other thing is like there is so much money at stake. Mauricio, he's talked about how they didn't have a prenup, and we know they could have a postnup. Like those are definitely things, but they've been married for over 20 years. And when it comes to divorces, and now every state is different, but pretty much universally 20 years, that changes everything when it comes to divorce and alimony and what parties are entitled to and that sort of thing. And then you have to think about Mauricio's stake in his business. Like he might own the majority of the business, which is a, tens of $1 million at least business. But that's not something that's just like a liquid thing. Like he might not be able to, just pay her half of that.
And to add to that, Amanda, especially in California, it's a pretty touchy time in real estate. Like the California market is not great right now.
Yeah.
There's the law about selling over a $10 million house. Stuff isn't moving as quickly with the interest rates, and all of that definitely compounds that financial situation.
Right. Yeah. His company might not be doing, that's a great point. It might not be doing as well as it was even last year. And if your basis is when the company was at a high and then you're seeing a downward trend over the next couple of years, but you're having to pay based off the high, like that would be a difficult situation. So like, you can't just get a quickie divorce when there's assets like this. And I read that they took like it might have been, I think a very high, like multi-million-dollar mortgage on their house. And it was funny because when I read that, I was like, gosh, I wonder if there's some sort of like, what are they doing with that money? How are they going to be leveraging it? And now, like, my theory is one of the two might be using it to buy the other out. I'm guessing Kyle would want to stay in that house, but I don't know. But if she did that, I don't think she would just have the liquid assets to be able to be like, here you go, Mauricio. So that would be one way that they could do it.
Okay, so I'm just thinking of something as you're talking. If she's not with Morgan, which we don't know, I'm going to, for the purposes of this, I'm going to say she isn't, right? Because if she was, why is she putting it so in our face before ever announcing
I thought the same
tattoos, the ring? Listen, I was just hanging out with a friend of mine. I was at I'm friends with the mom. It's my son's friends with her son, and her best friend have matching tattoos. So this is not an uncommon thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things, and Kyle does get very close. We saw how close she got to Teddy in a short period of time. Especially, we know that she longs for that sister relationship when they're at odds, which they have been at odds. So it is totally possible that she's very close with this person. But if she's not just coming out and saying, no, we're not romantically involved, cut it out, could it be some sort of financial arrangement with her, like separate and apart from the fact that her and Mauricio are going through it, which may also bring her closer platonically to a friend, right? Could it be that they invested in this person and somehow they're financially tied to her success? Because we all know who she is now. I've listened to her music. I'm sure many others have tuned in.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know who she was at all independently of her music. I mean, I only knew about this. So I do agree it could have something to do with that. They saw potential in her and they wanted to succeed. This is driving ratings, and like they say, no press is bad press. So I could see something along those lines.
Yes. And like, that's so crazy that you brought that up, because like in my notes, I'm like, why are we not talking about why Kyle has been posting so much? Because she's definitely kind of veered off her usual path, and like, yes, she's been showing like the workout pictures, but like showing her so much, like Kyle knows social media, like she knows what she's doing.
Right.
So we have to ask ourselves like why she's been doing this for quite a while. And like my mind always goes to like why people post on social media. It's usually like money, family pride, or family love, or like some kind of personal gain. Like somebody will be in a picture with somebody else to be like, oh, look, this is my friend. Hopefully I'll get more followers, whatever it is. Like, so I actually had in my notes too, like, is there some sort of financial stake in her career? Is there a family tie?
Oh, you had the same thing?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. I'm like, or is she in love? Like, does Kyle want to start a country music career? Like,
well, so here's the thing. So now I'm totally, and this, literally, as you were talking about finances, it just came to me. And these are people who we have watched diversify in so many different ways. And they've taken a lot of shots in the dark. I mean, Kyle started a clothing store, then she started caftans. He went on his own reality show. I mean, they're people I apologize if you guys are hearing this banging. I came to my dad's condo because my house is still under renovation. And I don't know what the people upstairs are doing, if they're picking up every chair they have and slamming it to the ground. Maybe the cleaning lady's there. I don't know. Do you hear it?
I just heard just a second ago. Yeah.
It is violent what's happening upstairs. I don't even know who lives there, but I may have to call the authorities on. Not good.
God, did this just turn into a true crime podcast?
Oh my God. And you're all like connected to
We're
it.
all witnesses. But when you were saying that too, because I was like, the other thing I'm like, does she know, because she knows TV so well and she knows this show so well, does she know this season is going to be like a little bit of a snooze, and she was doing it on purpose to get people more interested in her story?
Well, here's the thing,
Beverly Hills.
Here's the thing. This was not printed by me, okay? This was printed by People magazine.
Right.
Dave Quinn was involved in the release. You have to get Bravo would have had to approve it. Now, whether or not Kyle approved it, I can't say. But Bravo, I would tend to think that she didn't because of her later statement. But Bravo would have had to approve it. Bravo's like, screw this. Let's cash in like we did Scandival.
Yeah.
They're basically mimicking. And who knows, is Kyle a part of it? Because they're dangling Morgan rather than make Mauricio the bad guy, right? Which would be bad for business for both of them. So if you want a Scandival, it's got to be Kyle, quote unquote, cheating. Because if it's Mauricio with some chick, now we're not buying from the agency. We're not watching Selling Beverly Hills. But if it's Kyle and it's a lesbian situation, we're intrigued and somehow we're not as angry because there are those rumors about Mauricio. So it
Yeah.
makes total sense that this is a setup.
Yeah, I agree with you. It wouldn't be on people or Dave's, he wouldn't post that unless there was credible confirmation. He has a great relationship with the network. They give each other stories, etc. I mean, if you read the article, it says, from a source close to, whoever. So it had to have been someone from a rough, circumference of what's going on, or someone who, officially knows, because that story would not have been posted. I mean, if you said a different outlet, a different news outlet that sometimes maybe just post things on a whim, but this was too specific. The story was definitely given from a credible source.
Which isn't to say that they're not separated. Like, it's not to say that I think the whole thing is a hoax. Maybe we're going to see these rumors. We're going to see troubles in their marriage. And they were kind of like, listen, we always avoid talking about this kind of stuff, but it's out there anyway. Let's spin this and let's make some money, honey. And let's get people tuning in. And let's prove to everybody we don't need Runa to have a interesting season.
I also found it interesting from Kyle, the article that was posted, says separated or going through a separation, whatever it may say. And then, Kyle and Mauricio's statement, it doesn't touch on the word separated. It just says we are not divorcing. So like you said earlier, couples separate and don't even divorce, or that's not even in their, forefront or later front. Like, divorce is not on the table, but separation maybe. So I found it very strategically PR marketingly worded. We are not going through a divorce. That's not to say, we haven't had a rough year of our marriage, but please don't, what did she say, salacious rumors, don't use those to fit the narrative. Like, I found it very interesting because they didn't touch on the word separation, which was what was published. So
she also could have addressed it right there and said, and I would like to add that Morgan and I are friends and nothing more. And she didn't.
Yeah, she didn't. God bless Bravo for showing us, like, there's a lot of different, like, ways that relationships and marriages evolve, right? Like, I'm thinking about Robin and Juan Dixon. They full on got divorced, but still lived together, fell back in love. God knows what's going on with them right now. But that's for another day. Like, and Dolores and Frank, and like, I do believe like there's ways that, like, not everybody is like War of the Roses. I hate you. I hate you. And it would be very interesting actually to me to see a separated couple, especially the fact that they did announce it. They had to have approved it in some way, because I don't think Dave Quinn would go messing with that.
He has a good relationship with Bravo and the network,
and Kyle, right?
Yeah,
like,
he's
I don't think
friendly
he
with
would
her more so than.
Yeah, and so my thought was like, I mean, gosh, it would be really interesting, and maybe part of the reason they did like have it announced was so that they can then, say we're separated, but we're pursuing other relationships with whomever those might be. But that would be very interesting to me too.
And so here's the other thing that we got this week. We're getting a lot of stuff coinciding with all of this. So we got an email from Tea Drinker. The email name is I could lose my job at bravo.com. Subject is OGT. There are only 2 OGs remaining from our original Housewives Big Five: OC, New York, Atlanta, Jersey, Beverly Hills. Expect them to both be gone after their respective upcoming seasons. One is wrapping up her major storyline feud and potentially getting a spinoff. That's Teresa. The other is tired of the drama the show has caused in her family since its first season. Her and her sisters are in the final stages of talks and negotiations for their own show on a streaming service. With their feuds ended, they are ready to rebrand their family image with this secret project. If it is true that Bravo found out that Kyle is shopping around to somebody like Hulu, it gives them a huge motive to out what they know and have on camera, which is that they're separated. And then that's why her and Mauricio are in Aspen, like, what the fuck? And came out with a statement. So it could be, guys, oh my God, I think if this email is true, it could be that Bravo was like, yeah, you're going to screw us with a streaming network? I'll screw you too.
Yeah. And maybe, you know
Wow.
what, you're right. Maybe,
What's
and
beef?
maybe like,
There's
Dave,
beef.
we've got your back. And like, you, like, don't worry, we're going to feed you plenty of other stuff. You might
Well,
burn
Dave
the
is
bridge with
putting a
Kyle.
rock in a hard space, because I can tell you from experience that you do have people who tell you things, whether it's a source or talent, and you do have to weigh and say, listen, is this story, or even just guilt? When I got the thing that Raquel and Tom Sandoval were cheating, it was not a public thing.
Right.
I was so close, and I'm so glad I didn't, because TMZ posted it like 5 hours later. I was so close to not posting it because I was like, if this is, whether it's
Right,
true or
yeah.
not, like Ariana does not know about this and she's going to be brokenhearted. But at the end of the day, when you run it, you always have to use, your judgment. And in my opinion, I was like, it sounded true. And I was like, if I don't post it, somebody else will. And I'm
Mhm.
sure that's what Dave had to go with.
And you know what that reminds me of, B, when you got the tip about Dallas housewife Brandy Redmond and Brian, when you got that tip,
Yes.
him
Well, I
with it.
asked
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
I went to our group and I showed them the video, and I was like, guys, should I post this? And the unanimous decision amongst our whole account crew was like, B, if you don't post it,
Someone else
they're
will.
going to send it to another account and that person's going to post it. And I
Mhm.
was like, yep. So that's kind of what I go by.
Right. Yeah.
But wow, I didn't even, until I just read that about her shopping the show to a streaming service, because that makes sense. Because you guys are saying she must, before we read this email, we were the three of us saying, oh no, she must have approved it somehow. But that statement read like,
They're getting
slow
back at
down,
her.
we're not
Yeah.
getting divorced. Like, everyone calm down. Stop with these
Mhm.
rumors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I could see how if they want to spin off the three of them, they want to do it on their own terms, and I guess make it seem like they're, besties till the end and there's no hardships. And I mean, the thing with Bravo is that it's real, and like they're not gonna, just make it seem like the three of them are hunky dory always. They're gonna want to show like the hardships between the three of them. So
Totally.
if they say something, if like that email read, they want to rebrand the family dynamic and make it, the Three Musketeers, and there's never been any issues. I mean, I guess another network would buy onto that because of their names, their status,
Right.
etc. I mean, I can't imagine they were thrilled, or when Mauricio and the girls signed with Netflix. Like, I don't know, obviously, but that is an opposing streaming
Update.
service.
My
Yeah.
father's upstairs neighbors are not killing each other because now they are playing Suavemente at an extremely loud volume and I hear dancing.
Oh,
So-
okay.
All right, well,
They
they're
were
having a
moving
good day.
furniture to have a dance floor.
Do you guys hear it? Because this is going to be some recording.
I don't actually.
I don't.
Okay, wait, but okay, I want to address this, guys, because I've seen some people post how wrong it is that we're outing Kyle. I will only speak for myself, but I'll also speak for other accounts. We're speculating on rumors. We are not outing anybody, okay? That's number one. It is no different to me if there was a rumor she was cheating with a man. She's been married 27 years. Rumors are flying that they're separated. He's a cheater. She's posting all these pictures with this woman who seemingly popped up out of nowhere. We're wondering what's going on. That's not outing anybody.
I think what's interesting, similar to Scandival, when you're looking back on it and it's like, wow, it was right in front of our faces the whole time, like between Tom and Raquel, there were so many signs looking back. I mean, there was posts on Instagram, there was Tom dressing up as Raquel for Halloween, et cetera, and we were all like, wow, that affair happened right in front of all of our faces and no one put it together. But like, similar to this, I felt similarly, like, she posts with Morgan all the time. I feel like everyone has their little, like, antennas on, like, oh, like, we were just duped by Scandival that's been in front of us the whole time, like speculating on something that's in front of us, Kyle posting with Morgan, them doing Amazon Lives, they're at concerts together in the public appearances, I'm assuming. So I think that's half of the battle why, everyone's speculating because, it's right in front of us.
If you're having an affair with somebody and you're a public figure and you don't want people to speculate on your relationship, you do not post that picture. It's just as easy for
Agreed.
Kyle
Yeah.
to cut her out of some of these pictures or to just not post with her. Like, she's been doing this on purpose, and we just have to, like, we're investigating why. And I agree. Like, this is not the same thing as outing people. Like, we get stuff about, so-and-so, we won't name any names, being closeted, and like we don't talk about that stuff because we agree that it's not right. This is more of a why we are putting on, like, getting out our magnifying glasses and figuring out why she is posting this person so much at the same time she is separating from her husband.
I agree. Like, if it's something that, isn't wanted to be talked about, don't post pictures together. And
Right.
I do think another reason is, looking back on the early seasons of when, Allison Dubois says to Kyle, which I find the wording interesting, is, he will never emotionally fulfill you. So it's kind of like, this metamorphosis now we're seeing on Instagram, or like, is there a different reason that she wasn't being emotionally fulfilled? Like, I feel like the wording was like, so I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it was so like articulated in a certain way.
Yes.
That could be also part of why, this is such, news. Everyone's, speculating on what's in front of us.
Listen, 27-year marriage, and crazy ass Bethany Frankel came out and said it best. She said, 27-year marriage, 4 daughters, successful businesses, clearly wherever they're at, still respect for each other, whether they are separated, splitting, whatever, it's a success. Okay. Like, we're not, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
like,
I
you
mean,
feel
I
like
can-
people like then will write on posts and be like, leave the woman alone. No, I'm not going to leave her alone. She went on Amazon Live with some girl that people are speculating that she's having an affair with. I'm not going to leave her alone. And
Yeah.
you don't need to follow me if you want me to leave situations like that alone, because then I wouldn't be posting anything.
Yeah.
And to Amanda's point, yes, I have received pictures and other things with Bravo celebrities who are not out with in compromising situations. I would never repost that. That's where you use your judgment and go, you know what? If someone else posts that, have at it. That's where I draw the line. Like, I'm not, but this is very different. She is posting these pictures, not us.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as like somebody who, like, I can speak from experience, like, divorce does not mean failure. Like, Bethany said it really well. Like, that doesn't mean like, the world is over, and, people move on, and like, it is what it is. So it is strange that that's the narrative, right? Like, that it's a failure. Like, it's not.
Not at all.
Not
And I
at
think it's
all.
very sad. And I think it's one of the reasons why people live unhappy lives when they could just say, and even start to resent each other, right? Because if you're in an unhappy marriage, eventually you're going to lash out at the other person because you feel like you have to stay, right? So isn't it better for everybody involved to just be like, you know what? This was great. It's not great now. We tried. It's not working. And let's like leave with some level of respect for each other so that we can have a friendship or
Yeah.
a family unit of whatever that looks like. If you have children, or even if you don't have children, if you're married for a number of years, I would venture to say you'd like to have a relationship with that person. I don't think it has to be all or nothing. Like, either I'm married to you or I want you to die.
Right. It doesn't all have to be like the War of the Roses.
Like, if you don't have kids, you may say, call and say, hey, are you free next Friday? Do you want this movie? I know we'd both love it. It's coming out. Do you want to go? And it's like, isn't that the way that like things should work?
Yeah. You're cordial and happy at family weddings, just like we
Right.
just saw them in Aspen. So,
Right.
So yeah, I couldn't
Right.
agree
Or
more.
is Kim's daughter, who grew up for 27 years, the girl's probably not much older than 27, if she's even 27, with Mauricio as her uncle. And I'm sure we've all lived through this in our families. Like, I know personally when, I've had situations where an uncle or a family member divorces your quote unquote aunt, uncle, cousin, whatever it is. If you're grow up with that person, it's still your aunt, uncle, cousin. You're not looking at it like, I'm not going to see them again.
Right.
So that Mauricio would be, unless he did something egregious, right? He's going to be at that wedding, whether it was this summer or in 2 summers, because Whitney, Kim Richards' daughter, grew up with him as her uncle.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Okay, so should we talk a little summer house before we wrap for the day?
I think we have to.
Definitely.
Okay, so I know we've been getting a lot of stuff coming in because we know they just started filming. They always start filming right around the 4th of July, like usually that weekend. So what we have heard, we've heard Paige, Kyle, Amanda, Danielle, Gabby, and Sierra are full-time. What else have you been hearing, B?
I've been hearing a lot, especially in the last couple days. Okay, so Lindsay and Carl, we have to see what that's going to look like because we're going to see them. I haven't been told they're not in the house, but I think there's a world where they're out there planning their wedding and we see scenes with them and maybe somehow they get integrated in, or maybe they're just in the house some weekends. Their storyline will be planning their wedding. Allie, Amanda, and I have said from the beginning, like, Bravo, if this is their sunset, this is their sunset, but they met on the show and they're getting that wedding on the show.
I think so
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
The
don't-
fans want the full arc.
Yes. Okay, I hear Ciara. This is very interesting. I heard from a reliable source that Ciara was added full-time last minute. I know there's a lot of pushback on her and Maya and they're boring. What I also heard was that Sam will be part-time. The reason is allegedly because, I'm sure everyone has seen it, Corey had liked a bunch of tweets very recently that were transphobic. So Bravo does not want him on the show. I don't believe they're going to discuss it publicly, but I think it was Sam's choice not to be full-time when they told Corey he wasn't coming back. How do we
Okay,
feel about that?
Where are the boys?
Okay, so we do
We had this exact conversation a year ago.
There's 2 new people full-time. I think they're boys. There is also the rumor of Brian Benny, but he was not at the first weekend. He was posting and he was somewhere else. I asked my source and they said that it totally makes sense, but they didn't have that confirmed. Don't forget, he lives in Miami, so they may pull the whole, our friend Brian's visiting from Summer House.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that seems realistic. We have a friend, have him come a few weekends, have him, strategically go, wanting to hook up with I don't know what happened in Winter House, but maybe, something with him, one of the cast members, they continue it to Summer House.
He was very hugged up with Danielle at the after party of Vanderpump Rules.
Okay, so then maybe, he's going to the house for Danielle. She's going to have, her friend Brian visit for a few weekends. So, I mean, I could see that realistically, having him somewhat worked into the storyline a la Austin, but maybe not as toxic. But yeah, I feel from a peripheral stance for Sam, I mean, I don't know how to feel. I wish she'd maybe scrap him and come back full time, but
And I just saw yesterday she posted a picture of them making out, which prior to the transphobia, I really thought they were very cute, and the future of Summer House. So I think this really threw a wrench in the plans. I think that Ciara and Maya were out, and this really saved Ciara. I think we'll probably see Maya and Chris. They weren't there the first weekend, but I think we'll see them. I liked Chris. I mean, I think Chris could come back, and if they had a couple of other guys, he'd be more exciting. He didn't really have a chance. You had sober Carl, who was up Lindsay's ass, and then you had Kyle. So and Corey, but if he had a couple more guys, maybe he'd be exciting.
I agree. I think Chris had some potential. I think he just he has a really nice guy vibe, and that combined with not having some other single guys to play off of.
Talking about this makes me realize something. it must be incredibly hard for producers because on the one hand, a guy like Corey is exciting and fun, or Carl when he was drunk and wild and toxic. And then we turn around and we go, oh my God, Corey liked transphobic tweets. How could you have him on? And then you have Chris, great former, he served our country.
Mhm.
He's polished, he's good looking. And what do we say? Man, he's boring. He's too nice.
Too nice. I know.
So it's like, what do we want? Like, even with the girls, it's like Lindsay. Everyone's like, oh, she's wild and she's nasty. But then you have like the other girls and they don't do much. And you're like, well, they're boring.
I know. I think Sierra's going to have to get out of bed this season.
But if they really almost cut Ciara, maybe she'll give us something.
Yeah.
I'm happy with Sierra back. I would like to see more Chris. I agree. Like, we didn't really get a fair shake with him. I think, people's first season, he could be nervous. He didn't really have like a broy squad to feed off of. I could do without Corey. He personally didn't do much for me, even being wild. Like, he didn't do it for me. But I would like to see Chris again. I don't think I need Maya back. She's a nice girl. I'd probably be friends with her in real life. I don't think she's good for TV. And I think that her taking off the microphone when exposing, her boyfriend cheating on her, not good for reality TV. I just don't think it's the space for her. I think Sierra could, I agree that maybe she'll be giving us more, but I do think without Maya, she might be giving us more anyways, because, they're really close. They feed off each other. Maybe like the energy's lower together. So I'm good with Sierra. I think Gabby can give us like a little bit more. Chris, I would like to see Brian. I think Danielle will come and bring it. And, I'm fine seeing Lindsay and Carl pop in. I don't know if any of you guys saw this. Loverboy had a summer launch party last week or so in Manhattan. I wish I could have been there, but I was not. And, there's all the videos of Amanda, Kyle, Lindsay, Carl, Chris, Danielle.
Birdie told me that Lindsay went to that party after finding out that Corey wasn't going to be asked back because, she was so buddy-buddy with Corey and Sam.
Mm-hmm.
You heard it here first. You won't see her with them again because she was only using them as a vehicle to stay on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And a little birdie told me she went there and was nicey with Danielle and all the return of Kyle and Amanda and all the returning people in one last ditch effort to get full-time. And she did not want to be part-time. That was not her choice. That's what I heard. Don't know if it's true.
So yeah, I agree. I think that might have been, her way to segue, we're going to make things up. It's not going to be as, Lindsay and Carl separated from the rest of the house. They're going to be integrated in the story, and then they can talk about their wedding, they can go on dates, and then that segues to, their wedding special, which seems like what they're doing. But I agree that Lindsay, that's not surprising to me at all, because, you see her in all the videos, like they're all besties again. And at the end of the day, Summer House is a house of the story is based on a group of friends doing a share house in the Hamptons. So, you got to be friends at some point to be incorporated in that.
I think, Amanda, since our girl Allie is a single lady in Manhattan, we should do a little this or that with some Bravo Lebs. And to all of our listeners, if you have a cousin, a brother, a friend who is in Manhattan, what's our age? What ages are we doing?
I don't know. I'd say like 24 to 27, maybe.
That's I love the youth. It's a very small window. Like,
but I have to say, Allie, like that sounds about perfect. I remember when I was, 24 and living in the city and single, like 27 sounded very old.
Yeah.
Very old.
I just feel like it's a different phase of life at that point.
Yes.
Allie, please tell Amanda who your number one Bravo Leb crush was.
Oh my God, I used to love John Pringle from Southern Charm. I'm so
like
mad.
82.
Oh, he's cute though. I get it.
He is.
I get
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. I loved him. I'm sad that we don't see more of him.
Who else? So we can get a beat on your type.
Okay,
who else
Austin or Craig?
Yeah.
Craig. But I do like Austin's height.
Shep or Austin?
Austin.
Okay. Apollo I always go Apollo. Apollo, or who's another really hot one? Clearly, we didn't plan this ahead. Apollo or Mauricio.
Mauricio,
Pretend
yeah.
they're younger. Pretend they're like not old.
Mauricio.
Oh my God. I have to tell you, so far, I'm keeping all the men.
I have a good one. Ryan from OC or Ryan from OC?
Ryan, like the husband, not like Tamara's son.
Ryan, the like boyfriend of Jen.
Yeah.
Or Ryan, the husband of last year Jen.
I think I'm gonna go with Ryan, the last year one.
Ugh.
The
God.
one this year seems like, I don't know. I don't get good vibes from him.
Okay, Lenny Hochstein or Terry Dubrow?
Terry.
Terry Dubrow or Ken Todd?
Terry.
Oh, she's a Teddy. I love that we're giving her all old people. Wait. Okay. Jim Edmonds or Jim Bellino?
Edmonds. Is that even a question?
Brooks or Steve Lodge?
Brooks.
Ooh.
Vicky's Brooks, right? Not
Yes.
Brooks Marks.
How many Brooks
okay.
are there?
Brooks Marks. I didn't know if that's where you're going with. Steve Lodge.
Yeah,
Okay. Joe Gorga or Frank Catania?
Frank.
So you keep going older here. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Are there any young? Oh, Frankie Jr. or there's really no competition. I can't think of one person I could possibly compare to him. Or Brooks Marks is gay, so I guess that doesn't really work out because he's also so handsome. They're like the two best looking house.
They're good looking kids. I'm going with Frankie Jr. though on that one.
I mean, I'm going with Frankie Jr. versus anybody. And call the cops if you must, but I'm doing it.
How about this? Favorite Bravo couple? Let's go Candy and Todd and Joe and Melissa. Wait, who did you say?
No, that's better. Yours is better.
Candy and Todd or Joe and Melissa?
Joe and Melissa.
That's a hard one.
I know.
I mean,
Mauricio and Kyle would have been one of these. It really is very sad.
It is sad.
It is.
It's really, yeah. And I think, like I said, like kind of going full circle to what we were talking about earlier, like I don't think you can find anybody who is not rooting for them
Agreed.
to get back together. So good vibes towards that, to steal Kyle's words.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Allie, you have to come back.
Definitely.
This was so much
so
fun.
much fun. Thank you for having me.
Cocktailers, please remember, if you're not, which most of you probably are because we talk about her quite often, follow at Bravo_after_thoughts. And I don't think you started Thread yet. I started it last night. I locked myself out of Instagram. Amanda, I almost called you in a panic because I think the last time I changed my password, I sent it to you. I couldn't remember it because have the memory of a goldfish. But then I remembered if I went on my computer, it would be saved, and it was.
Good.
Oh my God.
So Threads is like the new Twitter like competitor, right?
It's the new Twitter competitor, and I have to tell you, I know nothing about it. I signed up last night, and it was late, and I just clicked follow all. Well, a follower, because my cocktailers are always looking out for me, sent me a message and told me a person who shall remain nameless, but who's another, popular account, who didn't follow me. Now, I don't know, maybe their follow all didn't work correctly. I'm sure it did. I'm just saying. But I made one of my first threads was Shady Boots, and it said, Threads observation. A petty person doesn't follow all accounts they follow on Instagram, but instead comes to Threads app and cherry picks who gets their follow. A booked and busy person clicks follow all. Now, go figure out which of your Insta friends are petty.
I'm dead. I love it.
I actually haven't even checked because I got that message and then we had to record. But now I'm like, why would somebody not? Like, to me, I either wouldn't follow you anywhere or I'd follow you everywhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just don't know how to use the app yet. I mean, there's that too. No.
The thing about it is the person in question seems to have figured out how to follow so many other people.
Oh. Interesting.
Mm,
Mm.
mm.
One more thing. Look out for, if you follow me, look out next week. I will be going to the the new New York premiere with the cast. So I'll have tons of content from there. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Yay!
hmm
I
We are
can't wait
so
for New
excited.
Roni. I'm so
Me
excited.
too. I can't wait. I think it's gonna be good.
The ladies look incredible. I'm pumped up.
They do.
Speaking of New York, before we hang up, I just have to say, did you guys read the story that Sonia Morgan popped a stitch from her liposuction from having sex with a truck driver in Illinois?
So
I love
funny.
her.
It's so her. She's so her.
Somebody
Oh.
told me Sonia's got a new man, and I'm like, who? And she's like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm like, oh, but apparently, guys, keep your ears and eyes open.
Huh.
Sonia's got a sewn. I love
I
it.
love it. I love it.
All right, cocktailers, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Allie, for joining Amanda and I, and have a great day, everybody.
Have a great one.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Just want to ask you guys a favor, just getting kicked off. So many people have been asking us to do this podcast. So please do subscribe. And if you've subscribed, go to your podcast app and hit those 3 little dots to share with your friends, but only friends who like good tea, because the ones who don't care about tea, then forget them. And don't forget, find us on Instagram at @bravoandcocktails_. And check out the website, because some great tea gets put there daily that would get us kicked off of Instagram. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, guys. See you next time.